In 2009, Marcus and David joined the Army. Same uniform, same starting point, same future ahead of them. Neither one owned a home. Neither one had housing wealth. At the starting line, they were even. Over the next few years, their lives moved almost the same way. They trained, they worked, they got promoted, they earned similar pay. And for this story, we're going to keep almost everything equal. Same career, same PCS moves, same family growth, same access to BAH. One difference, how they use that housing benefit. In 2012, both soldiers received PCS orders to Hawaii. For a lot of military families, Hawaii sounds exciting, but financially it can also feel intimidating. High home prices, limited housing options, high monthly costs, and for Marcus and David, Hawaii became the first major fork in the road. That same year, Marcus married Maya and David married Lauren. Both families were just getting started, and now because they had dependents, both soldiers qualified for with dependent BAH. BAH stands for Basic Allowance for Housing. It is the money provided to help military families cover housing costs. But BAH is not just a monthly number, it's a financial tool. David and Lauren look at Hawaii and decide to rent off base. And honestly, that makes sense. They are new to the island. They don't want to rush into buying. They want flexibility. They want a clean PCS exit. They are housed, they have privacy, and they avoid mortgage responsibility. But that rent doesn't create housing wealth. This is why renting feels safe during a PCS. No mortgage commitment, no selling decision, no major repair responsibility, no tenant calls, and no property manager. Just keys, a lease, and a place to live. That matters. Renting is not wrong. For a lot of military families, it's the fastest way to stabilize after a move. But the question is not whether renting gives you housing. It does. The question is whether it creates anything that follows you after you leave. Marcus and Maya ask a different question. If we're going to use BAH for housing anyway, what would it look like to buy? So they compare the numbers. Let's say Hawaii's BAH is about $2,650 per month. David's rent is about $2,650 a month. And Marcus looks at a $450,000 home. Using a VA loan, the down payment can be zero. With the VA funding fee financed, the loan amount becomes about $459,675. The principal and interest payment is about $2,129 a month. That does not mean buying a home is free, but it does mean the numbers deserve a serious look. For a qualified VA buyer, the VA loan can change the starting line. Zero down is possible. No required monthly mortgage insurance. Seller's credits may help reduce cash needed to close, but it's not magic. There are still costs. There is still a loan. There is still responsibility. In Marcus's case, the home price is $450,000. The seller's credit is $13,500, and the funding fee is financed. So the loan with funding fee is about $459,675. So on day one, Marcus starts slightly negative, about negative $9,675 in equity. That makes the story more realistic. Buying does not always look powerful immediately. So in Hawaii, the families make different decisions. David and Lauren rent off base. Their rent is about $2,650 a month. And Marcus and Maya buy a $450,000 home using their VA loan. Zero down, loan with funding fee about $459,675. Principal and interest payment about $2,129 per month. Both families are housed. Both decisions are responsible, but only one family has started building ownership. Now watch where that same BAH goes. David's BAH goes to rent. That payment gives his family a place to live. But once that payment is gone, it's gone. Marcus's payment goes towards a mortgage connected to an asset. Part of it pays interest, part of it slowly reduces the loan. And if the home value rises over time, equity can grow. Same BAH, different destination. At the first scoreboard, Renton actually looks better. David has no mortgage, no repair responsibility, no selling risk, no tenant risk, and his housing wealth is zero. Marcus bought a $450,000 home, but because the VA funding fee is financed, his loan balance starts around $459,675. That means his starting housing wealth is about negative $9,675. So David appears ahead by $9,675. That is important. Ownership does not always look better on day one. Sometimes renting looks easier at the starting line. For the next few years, both families build a life in Hawaii. Work, family, bills, groceries, routines, nothing looks dramatic from the outside. David and Lauren are living in a rental. Marcus and Maya are living in a home they own. Both families have stability. Both families have a safe place to live. At this point, nobody looks rich. Nobody looks wrong. Life simply moves forward. From 2012 to 2016, David keeps paying rent in Hawaii. And remember, his rent equals his BAH, about $2,650 a month. So over 48 months, that adds up to about $127,200. That rent provided housing. It helped his family live comfortably. It helped them avoid ownership responsibility, but it created zero housing wealth, no equity, no property, no asset moving forward. During that same period, Marcus's Hawaii home starts moving. Slowly at first, but it moves. By 2016, the home value was about $491,887. The loan balance is about $423,872. That creates about $68,007 in equity. Marcus still had responsibility. He still had a mortgage. He still had risk, but the numbers started moving in his favor. Value up, loan down, equity grows. This is the basic idea of equity. Home value minus loan balance equals equity. If the home is worth about $491,887 and the loan balance is about $423,872, the equity is about $68,007. That is the part of the home Marcus now owns. Equity can grow in two ways. The home value can increase and the loan balance can fall. That is why ownership can look boring month to month, but powerful over time. Then in 2016, both families get orders to Texas, new duty station, new housing market, new BAH amount. For Texas, BAH is about $1,650 a month. David's Texas rent is also $1,650 per month. And now the first major housing exit test begins. David has a lease to close. Marcus has a property decision to make. For David and Lauren, the move is clean. They pack, they move, they return the keys, and the lease closes. That is one of the biggest benefits of renting. It is simple at PCS time. By the time they leave Hawaii, they have paid about $127,200 in rent, but they carry forward zero housing wealth. The chapter closes, and nothing from that rental follows them to Texas. This is the rental reset. The Hawaii rental solved the housing problem while they lived there, but after move out, the lease is closed, the keys are returned, the rent history stays behind. David and Lauren move forward, but no property moves forward with them. No equity, no rental income, no asset. That doesn't mean renting failed. It means renting ended exactly how renting ends. Clean exit, no ownership. Marcus and Maya have a harder decision. They cannot just return keys and leave. They own the property. So now they have options: sell it, keep it, rent it, or hire a property manager. That's more responsibility, but it is also more choice. At this point, the Hawaii home is worth about $491,887. The loan balance is about $423,872. Equity is about $68,007. Marcus decides to keep it and rent it. Ownership creates an exit decision, not just a move out. After the PCS to Texas, the Hawaii home becomes a rental. A tenant moves in. A property manager helps oversee it. Rents start coming in. The mortgage is still being paid down, and Marcus is now watching a property from another state. The starting net cash flow is about $150 per month. That's not a huge number, but the bigger point is this: the Hawaii property did not stop working when Marcus left, it kept moving in the background. Now, both families are in Texas, same career, same PCS, same Texas BAH. David rents off base again. His rent is about $1,650 per month, and Marcus buys again. The Texas purchase price is about $260,000. The loan with the funding fee is about $268,580. Principal and interest is about $1,244 per month. Starting Texas equity is about negative 8,580. And behind Marcus, the Hawaii property is still active. So this is no longer one housing decision. It is the beginning of a pattern. From 2016 to 2020, David's path is simple: one rent payment, one rental home, one lease. By 2020, his cumulative rent paid is about $206,400. Housing wealth is still zero. Marcus's path is a bit different. He has the Texas home he lives in and the Hawaii rental still working in the background. One family is restarting their housing at each PCS, the other is starting to carry assets forward. This is where rental ownership can become powerful. The tenant's rent pays the mortgage. Part of that payment goes to interest, part of it goes to escrow, taxes and insurance, and part of it helps reduce the loan balance. That means someone else is helping pay down the debt on an asset Marcus owns. It's not free money. There are repairs, vacancy, management, risk, but the loan keeps moving down and the asset keeps working. This is the honest part. Owning rentals is not passive in the way that people like to pretend. There can be repairs, vacancy, tenant turnover, property management fees, reserve requirements, unexpected costs. Marcus and Maya now have more responsibility than David and Lauren, so this story is not about saying ownership is easy. It is saying ownership can create options, but those options come with work. By 2020, both families are preparing to PCS to Colorado. The Colorado BAH is about $2,300 per month. David's Colorado rent is also $2,300 per month. By this point, David has paid about $206,400 in rent. His housing wealth is still zero. Marcus has about $155,370 in Hawaii equity, about $36,536 in Texas equity. Colorado starts slightly negative at about negative $12,705. Rental cash flow collected is about $7,634. Total housing wealth is about $186,834. This is where the machine starts becoming visible. Marcus is no longer starting over. Then the families move again, Texas to Colorado. More boxes, more school transitions, more routines to build. This is normal military life. By now, both families know how to PCS, but their housing paths are no longer equal. David is preparing for another rental reset. Marcus is preparing for another housing decision while carrying Hawaii and Texas behind him. Same move, different financial baggage. David and Lauren rent off base again in Colorado. The home is comfortable. The family gets settled. The kids have bedrooms. The process is familiar. For Colorado, David's BAH is $2,300 per month. His rent is also about $2,300 per month. Housing wealth created is still zero. Again, renting solves the housing need, but it does not create ownership. On the other hand, Marcus and Maya buy their third home in Colorado. The Colorado price is $385,000. The loan with funding fee is about $397,705. Principal and interest is about $1,677 per month. The starting Colorado equity is about negative $12,705. The BAH is about $2,300 per month. And now Marcus has three properties connected to the same military career: Hawaii, Texas, Colorado. This isn't flashy. It's strategic. By 2020, the difference is no longer about one home. Marcus has multiple assets moving at once. Hawaii equity is about $155,370. Texas equity is about $36,536. Colorado is just beginning at negative $12,705. Rental cash flow collected is about $7,634. Total housing wealth is about $186,834. David has paid about $206,400 in rent, and David's housing wealth is zero. That is the difference between restarting and stacking. Look at David's rental pattern: Hawaii, rental; Texas, rental; Colorado, rental. Each one solved the real housing need, but each one closed behind him when he moved. Hawaii rent paid about $127,200. Texas rent paid about $79,200. Colorado rent building towards about $110,400. Housing wealth still zero. This isn't failure. This is the normal rental pattern. Rent provides housing, but the asset stays with someone else. Marcus's path is powered by three engines: appreciation, principal paydown, and cash flow. Appreciation means the property value may rise over time. Principal paydown means the loan balance falls as the mortgage gets paid. And cash flow means the rental may produce income after expenses. Not every property performs perfectly. Not every year feels easy. But when these engines work together across multiple properties, the long-term effect can become very powerful. By 2024, both families are moving into the North Carolina chapter. The North Carolina BAH is about $2,100 per month. David's North Carolina rent is also $2,100 per month. By now, David has paid about $316,800 in rent. Housing wealth is still zero. Marcus has about $253,713 in Hawaii equity, about $87,283 in Texas equity, about $57,891 in Colorado equity, and North Carolina starts at about negative $12,870. Rental cash flow collected is about $21,314. Total housing wealth is about $407,331. Now, the gap is no longer small. It is multiple assets moving at once. Then the next PCS comes: Colorado to North Carolina. The families are older now. The kids are bigger now. Everyone has done this before. Pack, move, settle, new schools, new routines, same military rhythm. But by now, the housing decision is not just about where they will live next. It's about what their previous housing decisions have created. David and Lauren rent off base again in North Carolina. And again, the decision is understandable. It is familiar. It is flexible. It gives the family a place to land. North Carolina BAH is about $2,100 per month. North Carolina rent is about $2,100 per month. Housing wealth created, still zero. Another clean rental reset, another stable home, but still no ownership created. Marcus and Maya buy their fourth home in North Carolina. The purchase price is about $390,000. The loan with funding fee is about $402,870. Principal and interest is about $2,613 a month. Starting North Carolina equity is about negative $12,870. BAH is about $2,100 per month. This one starts negative too, but by now, Marcus understands the pattern. A property does not have to look powerful on day one. It needs time to work. By 2024, Marcus has four properties connected to the same military career. Hawaii equity, about $253,713. Texas equity, about $87,283. Colorado equity, about $57,891. North Carolina starts out negative at negative $12,870. Rental cash flow collected about $21,314. Total housing wealth about $407,331. David's cumulative rent paid about $316,800. David's housing wealth zero. This is the portfolio effect. Marcus is not relying on one house to do everything. He has multiple properties moving at the same time. Then life keeps moving. The kids get older, schools change, sports, homework, family dinners, another PCS memory, another year passing. From the outside, both families look stable. Both families are doing their best. Both families have lived the military life. But in the background, the housing outcomes are different. David's leases keep closing. Marcus's properties keep growing. David's path was not wrong. Renting gave his family flexibility. Renting gave his family privacy. Renting gave his family clean exits. It kept them from dealing with repairs, tenants, vacancies, and property management. That matters. This is not about making David look foolish. This is about understanding the trade off. Renting can solve today's housing problem, but it usually does not build tomorrow's housing options. Marcus's path was not easy either. Ownership created options, but ownership also created responsibility, repairs, tenants, vacancy, reserves, property management, market changes, selling decisions. This is why buying is not always the answer for every family at every duty station. But if the numbers work and the exit plan makes sense, ownership can create something renting usually cannot. Options. By 2028 and 2029, the difference is clear. David's rent paid keeps adding up. Marcus's assets keep following. Both families paid for housing. Both families had a place to live. Both families made reasonable decisions, but only one path created ownership. David's path created housing. Marcus's path created housing plus assets. That's the real comparison. By retirement, Davis' rental journey shows the full pattern. Hawaii rent paid about $127,200. Texas rent paid about $79,200. Colorado rent paid about $110,400. North Carolina rent paid about $126,000. Total rent paid about $442,800. Housing wealth, zero. David was housed. David had flexibility. David had clean exits. But after all those payments, no housing asset followed him into retirement. Marcus's final dashboard looks different. Hawaii's value about $656,884. Hawaii equity about $394,359. Texas's value about $347,213. Texas's equity about $159,797. Colorado's value about $470,360. Colorado's equity about $157,152. And North Carolina's value about $435,894. And North Carolina's equity about $57,697. Rental cash flow collected about $50,541. Total housing wealth about $819,547. Rounded simply, Marcus finished with about $820,000 in housing wealth. So here's the final comparison. David paid about $443,000 in rent. David's housing wealth is zero. Marcus's housing wealth about $820,000. Same career, same PCS moves, same housing benefit, different direction. David used BAH to rent and restart every PCS. Marcus used BAH to support ownership and carry assets forward. Both families were housed, only one path created ownership. So remember, BAH does not have to mean basic allowance for housing. When used strategically, BAH can mean buy a house. That does not mean every military family should buy every time. It means every military family should understand what their BAH could be doing. Renting may be the right move. Buying may be the right move, but defaulting without running the numbers can be expensive. I'm Antoine Hill, and this is Ask Antwaun. If you have questions about VA loans, PCS housing, BAH, renting, buying, or building wealth through real estate, ask Antwaun. And if this video helped, give it a like, subscribe, and follow for more real estate education. I'll see you on the next one.